Welcome back to Coins Most Valuable, the place where ordinary pocket change turns into unbelievable profit. Today, we're diving deep into the world of Jefferson Nickels. And if you think these coins are common, think again. Some Jefferson Nickels hiding in drawers, jars, and old family collections across America are secretly worth way more than face value. And collectors across the United States are paying serious money for the right ones. That's why you need to stay with me for this entire video. Because the most surprising and most valuable details always come later. And missing even 1 minute could mean missing the exact nickel that might already be in your home. If you love discovering rare coins, hidden value, and real collector demand, then make sure you subscribe to Coins Most Valuable right now. You don't want to miss the next rare find that could be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Let's get started. First up, the 1962 Jefferson nickel with the D mint mark is one of those coins that hides in plain sight. A coin that millions of people have touched without realizing that a small number of them can be worth far more than 5 cents. And today, as we talk about the 1962 D Jefferson nickel, its true value, its secret rarity, its hidden errors, and the real reasons collectors search for it every single day. I want you to stay with me until the end, because this is one of those coins where a tiny detail can be the difference between pocket change value and a coin worth serious money. The 1962 Jefferson nickel Denver issue has been gaining attention because of its strike quality, its die variations, its luster differences, and the fact that high-grade examples are incredibly hard to find, making this one of those valuable Jefferson nickels that continues to surprise collectors. When people look at a 1962 Jefferson nickel with the D mint mark, most assume it's extremely common. And in general circulation, yes, it is. The Denver Mint produced over 280 million pieces, making it a massive mintage coin. But what most collectors never realize is that the true value of the 1962 D Jefferson nickel does not come from the mintage number, but from the difficulty of finding perfectly preserved examples. Denver-struck coins from this period are notorious for weak steps on Monticello, for dull strikes, for metal flow lines that distort the surface, and for the overall challenge of locating fully struck examples with strong steps and full detail. Because of these strike issues, the 1962 Jefferson nickel from Denver becomes incredibly valuable in higher grades, especially when you get into the rare full steps category. And this is where collectors pay the biggest premiums, because high-grade Jefferson nickels with crisp details are in extremely small supply. People often overlook how challenging it is to find a 1962 D nickel with clean surfaces, no major marks, and sharp definition. Most coins from this era circulated heavily, got thrown in jars, banged around, rubbed in pockets, and lost their mint luster. So when a survivor emerges in mint state condition with outstanding shine and clarity, collectors go wild. This is why the 1962 Jefferson nickel with D mint mark can be extremely valuable in top grade. Even when the coin looks ordinary to the untrained eye, subtle qualities like the strike sharpness, the steps on Monticello, the field reflectivity, and the absence of nicks can drastically push the price upward. And that's exactly why this coin has shocked collectors at auctions. Now let's talk about the part that always grabs attention, the real money. The top value, the highest recorded price ever paid for the 1962 D Jefferson nickel. This coin reached its highest auction record when a top-grade example with exceptional luster and eye appeal sold for $3,525 at auction. Yes, over $3,000 for a nickel minted in 1962. And that price came because the coin was in extraordinary condition, the kind of grade extremely few 1962 D nickels ever approach. The highest value comes from top-tier mint state levels, especially when the coin shows strong steps or excellent clarity. This proves that even coins that seem common can explode in value when you find them in pristine condition. But that's not the whole story. The true value of the 1962 Jefferson nickel with the Denver mint mark comes from a combination of rarity and high grades and the small number of coins that qualify as exceptional strikes. Collectors who specialize in Jefferson nickels know that the Denver Mint had strike inconsistencies, which leads to an entire market built around searching for sharp, clean, well-struck examples. Even a slight improvement in strike detail can double or triple the value. Coins that show better Monticello step definition or unusually bright luster often attract premium buyers, especially when they exhibit minimal contact marks. This is why collectors examine these coins under magnification, looking for those microscopic details that determine whether the coin is common or valuable. Another layer of value comes from minor die variations and the natural imperfections of minting. Some 1962 D. Jefferson Nickels show small die cracks, die chips around the date or mint mark, or slight doubling caused by machine doubling. These aren't always dramatic errors, but they create micro-varieties that collectors enjoy finding. While most of these small anomalies won't bring huge premiums, they still increase interest and appeal, especially when combined with high grades. Nickel planchets of this era also show occasional metal impurities, which can cause weak areas or different shine patterns. All these factors make each 1962 D nickel unique, and for many collectors, that uniqueness is part of the coin's charm and value. Because this coin can be extremely valuable when preserved, many people today search through old change, old boxes, inherited jars, and rolls of nickels from banks hoping to find a high-grade 1962 D. Even circulated examples, with attractive luster, can sometimes bring interest. The most dramatic value jumps come from mint state grades like MS65, MS66, and very rarely MS67. These are the coins that collectors pursue aggressively, and these are the coins that have reached strong auction prices. The 1962 D nickel that hit $3,525 stands as a reminder that old American coins from pocket change can still bring surprising value. Something interesting about this coin is its place in the greater history of the Jefferson Nickel series. By 1962, the Jefferson Nickel design had been in use for more than 2 decades, and many dies were worn, leading to soft strikes. This makes strong strike examples particularly desirable. The Denver Mint worked fast in the early 60s because of demand for coinage, and rush production often meant reduced details. This is why well-struck nickels from this era carry so much value today. They represent only a tiny portion of what was produced. When you find a strong strike, you're essentially holding a miniature time capsule from a moment in mint history when speed was prioritized, making precision very rare. That rarity is exactly what drives up value today. Collectors also pay attention to luster quality, and the 1962 D nickel is known for wide variations in surface brilliance. Some coins come with deep cartwheel luster and amazing shine, while others look flat or dull even straight from the mint. Those brilliant coins, especially when found in original rolls that were stored well, tend to bring higher value. The combination of luster, strike, surface preservation, and eye appeal, all tied back to the single date and mint mark, creates significant demand. Another factor boosting the 1962 DS value is how it performs in registry sets. Advanced collectors building high-ranking Jefferson Nickel sets compete for the best examples of every date, including the 1962 D. This competition drives prices up dramatically whenever a high-grade piece appears on the market. Someone trying to upgrade their registry ranking might pay a premium far beyond what anyone expects for a coin that most people think is common. That's how modern coin collecting works, and the 1962 D. Jefferson Nickel is a perfect example of how common coins can become valuable through condition scarcity. If you're holding a 1962 Jefferson Nickel with a Denver mint mark, the first thing you should check is the coin's condition. Look for sharp steps on Monticello. Look for clean fields. Look for strong detail on Jefferson's cheekbone and hair. These areas show wear and imperfections quickly, so a coin with strong detail is already a sign that it may be worth more than face value. If your coin still has its original shine, minimal scratches, and excellent clarity, there's a chance it could be valuable. And if your coin has full steps, even better, because those are the hardest varieties to locate for this year. Full steps nickels are always in demand, especially from the Denver Mint. The 1962 Jefferson Nickel with D mint mark remains one of the most interesting coins from the early 1960s, not because it's rare in general, but because it becomes extraordinarily rare in the highest conditions. This creates a fascinating market where collectors are constantly searching, constantly comparing, and constantly trying to find that one coin that stands above the rest. And with the highest auction price reaching $3,525, this coin proves that value doesn't always depend on age alone. Sometimes it depends on condition, rarity of strike, and collector demand. That is why the 1962 Jefferson Nickel is valuable, why collectors continue searching for it, and why you should always check your old coins closely. The next valuable 1962 D might be sitting in a jar, in a drawer, or right in your hand. Next up, the 1992 Jefferson Nickel with the P mint mark is one of those modern coins that people think is too new to matter, too common to be valuable, and too ordinary to ever be worth real money. But the truth is the exact opposite. This nickel from 1992, especially the Philadelphia issue, has a secret that only collectors know. High-grade examples are incredibly rare, condition-sensitive, and extremely hard to find, which makes the best surviving pieces worth far more than anyone expects. That's why the 1992 P. Jefferson Nickel has become one of the surprising modern nickels to watch, and why you should stay all the way through this, because understanding this coin could help you identify value hiding right in your own change. Most people have handled thousands of Jefferson Nickels without realizing that some dates, like the 1992 P. nickel, are far scarcer in high grades than they seem. The Philadelphia Mint struck more than 441 million of these coins, an enormous number, but mintage alone does not determine rarity. What determines real rarity is how few coins survive in pristine condition, untouched by circulation, free from scratches, free from wear, and showing their original mint luster the way they did on the day they were struck. And for the 1992 P. Jefferson Nickel, that number is extremely small. The majority of 1992 P. nickels went straight into circulation. They were used hard, spent in stores, scraped against other coins, dropped into pockets, cash registers, jars, and drawers. Nickel, as a metal, is very tough but also very unforgiving. It picks up scratches easily, it shows marks instantly, and once luster is lost, it never comes back. That's why the 1992 P. nickel is so difficult to find in true mint state condition. It doesn't matter how many were minted. What matters is how few survived in the top grades that collectors demand. Collectors who specialize in Jefferson Nickels know that the early 1990s were a tough time for high-quality strikes. Dies were used longer than they should have been, production speeds were high, and the Philadelphia Mint especially struggled to maintain crisp details on modern nickels. The 1992 P. nickel often comes with mushy details, weak strikes on Monticello, and flat areas on Jefferson's face, especially the cheek and jawline. Even coins that were never circulated can show signs of strike softness, making genuinely sharp examples very rare. And then there's the matter of luster. Many 1992 P. nickels lack strong cartwheel luster because of rapid minting and metal flow issues. Coins from this year often show dull or satiny surfaces instead of bright, reflective luster. When a 1992 P. Jefferson Nickel shows full, booming luster and clean surfaces, collectors immediately notice. They know that kind of coin is not common, and that's why the price increases significantly. All of these factors, weak strikes, luster variations, contact marks, and circulation wear, combine to make top-quality examples extremely rare. And that rarity is exactly why this coin has a surprisingly high value in the best conditions. The market rewards the sharpest examples, the brightest examples, and the cleanest examples, and when those coins appear at auction, collectors compete fiercely for them. This brings us to the key detail, the moment collectors always pay attention to, the highest price ever paid for a 1992 P. Jefferson Nickel. A superb, top-graded example shocked the market when it sold for $1,840 at auction. Imagine that, nearly $2,000 for a modern nickel from 1992. And this wasn't because of an error or a unique variety. It was simply because the coin had exceptional surfaces, outstanding strike quality, and powerful luster. It was a coin far better than almost any other surviving example, and collectors knew how rare that was. That auction result shows the true value of condition rarity. A coin doesn't have to be old to be valuable. It doesn't have to be silver or gold. It doesn't have to be scarce in mintage numbers. What matters is how few survive in perfect, or nearly perfect, condition. That's why the 1992 P. Jefferson Nickel is valuable, and why collectors search for it every day. When you study the 1992 P. Nickel closely, you begin to see the small details that make it special. Look at Jefferson's cheek. Sharp contours are rare. Look at the hair above the ear. Most coins show blended lines instead of crisp strands. Look at the steps of Monticello. Full or nearly full steps are extremely difficult to find for this date because of strike pressure issues. Look at the fields, the open areas of the coin, because even the tiniest scratch can lower the grade dramatically. If you find a coin that has brilliant luster, sharp detail, and clean surfaces, you may be looking at something far more valuable than face value. Collectors examine these coins under strong light, under magnification, and under every angle possible, because small differences make huge price differences. A coin with slightly better eye appeal, slightly better strike, or slightly cleaner surfaces can be worth 2, 3, or even 5 times more than a similar coin with tiny imperfections. That's how condition rarity works, especially on modern nickels, like the 1992 P. Another factor that collectors pay attention to is how these coins fit into registry sets. Registry collectors compete to own the finest known examples of every date and mint mark. They need the best of the best. They don't want average coins. They want top-graded examples that stand out. That competition drives prices sky high when a top-quality 1992 P. nickel hits the market, because only a tiny number of them meet the standards required for the highest registry rankings. There are also minor varieties on some 1992 P. nickels, including small die cracks, die chips, and minor doubling created by die fatigue. While these don't usually bring huge premiums, they add interest, especially when paired with a high-grade coin. Collectors like coins that are visually interesting, and small anomalies caused by the minting process make each coin more unique. Finding a high-grade 1992 P. nickel today often requires searching through unsearched rolls, unopened bags, or old coin hoards that were stored away in the early 90s. Most nickels from this year are heavily circulated, scratched, and worn, so roll searching becomes one of the best ways to find a survivor. But even in rolls, finding a truly high-grade example is rare. Nickels rub against each other even inside mint-sewn bags, so even fresh coins can pick up contact marks before they ever reach circulation. If you have a 1992 Jefferson nickel with the P mint mark, examine it closely. Look for that strong luster. Look for sharp steps. Look for clean fields. The better the condition, the more valuable it becomes. And with the highest auction price of $1,840, there's real money in finding one of the best surviving examples. The 1992 P. Jefferson nickel is a perfect example of how modern coins can still be valuable today. It shows how condition rarity can transform an ordinary-looking coin into something worth hundreds, or even close to $2,000. It reminds us that every coin tells a story, and sometimes the most modern, most overlooked coins carry the biggest surprises. So always check your nickels carefully. Look at every date. Look at every mint mark, because the next valuable 1992 P. nickel may be sitting in your pocket, your jar, or your collection right now, just waiting for someone who knows what to look for. Next up, the 1963 Jefferson nickel with a D mint mark is one of those classic American coins that millions of people have handled, millions of people have forgotten, and yet only a tiny fraction of collectors understand just how valuable it can be in the right condition. The 1963 D. Jefferson nickel looks like an ordinary nickel from an ordinary year. But when you look deeper, when you understand strike quality, luster, steps on Monticello, and condition rarity, you begin to realize that this coin hides a surprising amount of value. And that's why if you have a 1963 D. nickel, you need to listen closely, because this coin might be worth far more than you ever expected. The Denver Mint produced a massive number of these coins, over 276 million 1963 D. nickels. So many people assume it's common. But mintage doesn't tell the whole story. What truly matters is how few coins survived in top condition. What matters is how many of these nickels still show original luster, sharp features, clean surfaces, and strong steps on Monticello. Because that number, the number of high-grade survivors, is incredibly small. And this is exactly why the 1963 D. Jefferson nickel becomes valuable when it is found in exceptional condition. By the time 1963 came around, the Denver Mint was producing coins at a very fast rate, and this speed caused noticeable issues. Many 1963 D nickels show weak strikes, dull luster, and heavy contact marks. Jefferson's cheek, hair, jawline, and collarbone often look flat or mushy. The steps of Monticello, which are one of the most important areas for collectors, are rarely well defined. Most coins were struck with worn dies or at reduced pressure, which means strong strikes with crisp detail are extremely hard to find today. Because of this, collectors searching for high-grade 1963 D. Jefferson nickels face a real challenge. Even coins that look mint-state at first glance often show tiny marks that lower the grade dramatically. Finding a coin with blazing luster, clean fields, sharp lettering, and strong architectural detail is like finding a needle in a haystack. And that is where the real value lies: condition scarcity, strike rarity, and the struggle to locate truly premium examples. This becomes very clear when we talk about the highest recorded auction price for the 1963 D. Jefferson nickel. When an exceptionally well-preserved, top-graded example appeared at auction, collectors immediately recognized its superiority. It had an outstanding strike, almost unheard of clarity, and virtually flawless surfaces. And when the bidding ended, that 1963 D. Jefferson nickel sold for $1,840, a stunning price for a nickel that originally cost just 5 cents. That auction result proves something important. Even a common date becomes extremely valuable when you find the right combination of grade, strike, and eye appeal. But how did that coin reach such value? It comes down to details. The best 1963 D. Jefferson nickels have strong luster, showing a full cartwheel effect when tilted in the light. They have razor-sharp edges on the lettering, clear and bold lines on the building, and minimal contact marks. These are the qualities that separate a typical, circulated nickel from a truly valuable coin worth hundreds, or even close to $2,000, just like the auction record. Another key element is the steps on Monticello. Full steps examples of the 1963 D. Jefferson nickel are extremely scarce. The Denver Mint simply did not produce strong strikes in this period, and the architecture on the reverse often blurs due to weak dies. Coins with well-defined steps become incredibly desirable. And when you combine full steps with a high mint-state grade, the price increases dramatically. Collectors know the difficulty of finding any pre-1964 nickel with strong steps from the Denver Mint. So these coins develop a passionate and competitive market. Collectors searching through rolls or old coin hoards often overlook the 1963 D because it doesn't seem special. But when you understand how important condition is, you realize that a lightly circulated or nearly uncirculated example with great luster can still attract attention. Roll hunters know that Denver nickels from the early 60s often have mechanical issues that make brilliant, sharply struck survivors extremely desirable. Another factor adding value comes from minor mint anomalies. Some 1963 D. Jefferson nickels show small die cracks, die chips around the mint mark, or machine doubling on the lettering. While these don't always command huge premiums on their own, they catch collector interest and add uniqueness, especially if they appear on a high-grade coin. Since the Denver Mint in 1963 ran dies aggressively, these small imperfections are not uncommon, but finding them on an otherwise pristine coin makes that nickel even more appealing. The metal composition, 75% copper, 25% nickel, also plays a role in how these coins age. Nickel metal is notoriously difficult to preserve because it shows every scratch, every nick, every small abrasion, making high-grade coins even harder to locate decades later. If your coin has smooth fields, shiny luster, and clean devices, it likely spent very little time in circulation. These qualities, paired with the coin's age, make it far more valuable than pocket change. If you're holding a 1963 Jefferson nickel with the D mint mark, here's what you should examine closely. First, the luster. Strong luster is a top indicator of value. Second, the surfaces. Are they smooth? Free of major marks, free of dullness? Third, the strike. Does Jefferson's portrait show clear detail? And most importantly, the steps of Monticello. The sharper the steps, the higher the value, especially if you find something close to full steps. Many people still have jars, boxes, and drawers filled with old coins, including nickels from the 1960s. If one of those coins happens to be in 1963, D in pristine condition, you might be holding a valuable collectible. Modern collectors are constantly searching for the cleanest examples they can find because these coins help complete high-ranked registry sets. Registry collectors compete with each other for the finest known examples, and when a top-grade coin appears on the market, they are willing to pay high prices to secure it. That's why the finest 1963 D. Jefferson nickel ever sold reached $1,840 at auction. It had everything collectors want: luster, sharpness, clarity, and almost perfect preservation. It is the perfect example of how a coin does not have to be rare in mintage to be rare in condition. It doesn't have to be silver or gold. It doesn't have to be old enough to feel like an ancient relic. It simply needs to be the best of the best in surviving condition. The 1963 D. Jefferson nickel is important because it represents the final year before the change to the 1964 to 1965 coin shortage era. It was a time when the mint was striking coins rapidly to keep up with national demand, and that pressure led to the surface issues, strike problems, and inconsistencies that make high-grade survivors so scarce today. This historical moment, this transitional period, adds an extra layer of significance to the 1963 D nickel. So whenever you examine your coins, make sure you give special attention to any 1963 D. Jefferson nickel. Study the surfaces, look at the shine, compare the details, because this coin may look common on the outside, but the truth is that it becomes extremely valuable in the right condition. The highest recorded price of $1,840 proves that a small nickel from 1963 can still shock collectors with its rarity and value. That is why the 1963 D. Jefferson nickel is considered valuable today. That is why collectors search for it. And that is why the next valuable example might be sitting in your home right now, waiting for you to recognize it. Now, we'll uncover the secrets behind the 1989 Jefferson nickel with the P mint mark as one of those modern American coins that most people overlook completely. They spend it, toss it into a jar, leave it at the bottom of a drawer, or hand it out in change, without ever noticing that this nickel from 1989 can actually be valuable. And the truth is that the 1989 P. Jefferson nickel hides a lot more rarity, demand, and collector interest than people think. If you have a 1989 P. nickel, you should pay very close attention, because this coin can be worth much more than 5 cents when you understand why condition rarity matters, why high-grade survivors are so difficult to find, and why collectors are willing to pay strong premiums for the finest examples. Let's begin with the basic reality. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 660 million 1989 P nickels, a huge number that makes most people assume the coin is common. But mintage alone doesn't determine value. What actually determines value is how many coins survived in pristine, high-grade condition. And when it comes to the 1989 P. Jefferson nickel, the number of truly high-grade examples is extremely small. This is a coin that circulated heavily, a coin that suffered from contact marks right out of the mint, a coin that rarely shows sharp strikes or clean surfaces. That combination makes top-grade survivors very rare today. Most 1989 P nickels were struck with dies that had already experienced heavy use during the year. This means that the coins often show soft features, weak detail on Jefferson's portrait, and faint details on Monticello. The steps on Monticello, which are the most important detail for Jefferson nickel specialists, are almost always weak or incomplete. Finding a 1989 P nickel with strong steps or even above average clarity is extremely difficult, and that difficulty is exactly what creates value. Collectors who specialize in Jefferson nickels love this date because it represents a time when the mint was transitioning into more efficient, high-speed production methods. These fast production speeds led to more die wear, more striking consistencies, and more marks during the minting process. So when a perfectly preserved 1989 P nickel appears, with sharp detail, brilliant luster, and clean surfaces, it stands out immediately. These coins are not common. These coins are not easy to find. And these coins are exactly the ones that bring high prices at auctions. This brings us to the most important part, the part that always shocks people, the highest recorded auction price ever paid for a 1989 P. Jefferson nickel. A superb example graded at the top of the scale, with incredible luster, nearly flawless surfaces, and exceptional strike quality, sold for $1,528 at auction. That is over $1,500 for a modern nickel from 1989. And the reason it reached that price is simple: condition rarity. Only a tiny fraction of the hundreds of millions minted survived with that level of preservation. This auction record proves that even modern nickels from the late 1980s can be valuable when they are found in the highest grades. Collectors building registry sets need the very finest examples to compete for top rankings, and they will pay premium prices for coins that show extraordinary preservation. When two or more collectors compete for the same top-quality example, the price rises quickly, and that's exactly what happened with the 1989 P nickel that sold for $1,500. Now let's talk about why these high-grade coins are so rare. For starters, the nickel alloy used in US 5-cent coins, 75% copper and 25% nickel, is extremely hard. This makes it difficult for the mint to strike sharp details consistently. The metal resists pressure, which means that Jefferson's hair, cheek, and jawline often look flat instead of sharp. Monticello's steps are usually weak because the dies cannot fully transfer the deep architectural lines. All of this means that even coins pulled straight from mint rolls in 1989 often show soft strikes or minor marks. Another challenge is that many 1989 P nickels were released into circulation through banks almost immediately after production, because the coins were moved, bagged, transported, and stored in bulk. They picked up contact marks before they ever reached the public. So even brand new coins had small hits and scratches right out of the mint. That's why coins with clean surfaces are so valuable today. They represent a tiny fraction of the production that somehow avoided all the damage that typically comes with bulk handling. Collectors are also interested in luster quality. The 1989 P nickel can come with beautiful cartwheel luster if preserved correctly, but the vast majority of these coins lost their shine early on. Exposure to circulation, dirt, humidity, and improper storage destroyed the original brilliance. So when a coin still has full luster after more than 3 decades, collectors take notice. Luster is one of the most important indicators of high-grade status, and strong luster can dramatically increase the desirability of a 1989 P nickel. There's also the matter of minor mint anomalies. Some 1989 P Jefferson nickels show small die cracks, die chips, or tiny areas of machine doubling. While these features don't always create huge premiums by themselves, they do increase collector interest, especially when they appear on an already high-grade coin. These small imperfections tell the story of how the coin was made, and they make the piece more unique in the eyes of collectors. If you have a 1989 Jefferson nickel with the P mint mark, here are the key things to look for. Start with the surfaces. Are they smooth, clean, and free from major scratches? Look at the luster. Is it bright and original, or dull and faded? Look at Jefferson's cheek and jawline. Are the details sharp, or are they flat? Look at the hair. Can you see clear separation in the lines? And most importantly, study the steps on Monticello. Even though full steps examples are extremely rare for this date, any improvement in step definition increases value. Collectors searching for the best examples of the 1989 P nickel often go through rolls, boxes, and unsearched bags, hoping to find coins that were stored away untouched. Sometimes old bank wrap rolls from the late 1980s surface in estate sales or old collections. These rolls can contain high-quality coins, but even then, only a very small percentage will be candidates for top-grade certification. That scarcity is what drives the value higher. The story of the 1989 P. Jefferson nickel is important because it reminds collectors that modern coins can be valuable, Not because they are old, not because they are made of silver or gold, but because they survive in perfect or near-perfect condition. When you combine scarcity of high-grade examples with competition from registry collectors, prices rise dramatically. And with the top example selling for $1,528, this modern nickel proves that even common coins can become valuable when they are exceptional. So if you have a 1989 P nickel, take the time to examine it carefully. Look at every detail. Look at every bit of shine. Look at the strike quality. Because one of these coins, preserved in the right way, can be worth far more than you expect. And just like the record-setting example, the next valuable 1989 P nickel might be in someone's pocket, someone's drawer, or someone's coin jar, just waiting for the right collector to recognize it. And that brings us to the end of today's deep dive into these incredible coins. If you're still here, that alone shows you're serious about learning the truth behind America's most valuable pocket change. Every nickel, every dime, every penny, every quarter we talk about has a story. And the more you learn, the more treasure you'll start to recognize in your own hands. So before you go, make sure you don't miss the next step in your coin collecting journey. Right now, I want you to watch my previous video on Washington quarters, because if you think these coins we just covered are valuable, wait until you see what people are finding inside their old quarter jars. That video will open your eyes to how much hidden money is really out there in everyday circulation. The link is right there for you. So go watch it next and take your knowledge even deeper. And if you enjoyed this video, do me one quick favor that helps this channel more than anything. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, share it with a friend, and drop a comment below. Let me know what coin you wanted to break down next, or tell me what rare coin you found recently. Your comments help this community grow, and your support helps me keep bringing you the most detailed, most accurate, and most valuable coin information anywhere on YouTube. So click subscribe, hit that like button, share the video, and jump over to the Washington quarters video next. I'll see you there, and until then, keep checking your change, because the next rare coin might already be in your pocket.